that was one of the reasons that I really, not one of the reasons, but one of the areas where I really neglected my own personal health and my own personal well-being. And then I became a full-time caregiver for my dad and mom. Dad passed away, but mom is doing well, thanks to, of course, you and your team. And so one of the key success factors, which I'll come to later, but I just want to touch on briefly now, is that one of the reasons I think I succeeded in this is because I had a very supportive family and a group of friends.
Yes.
I think that is very, very critical in this program, because if they don't understand what you're doing and the rationale that you and your team have given us for the steps that we have to take, then it becomes even more tougher to do it.
Absolutely, because society may not even understand, but at least if your core key support team understands, that helps you.
Yes. So I was someone who thought that food was my best friend, and I couldn't go a minute without thinking of what I'm going to be eating next. I wasn't always like that, but I
Yeah.
think working had changed me, and I reached it. It became just my crutch when I was feeling stressed. So the four pillars that you mentioned, sleep and stress management. Stress management is a huge, huge element in the weight loss program.
Yes.
And also, of course, the exercise and the nutrition. I prefer to use the word nutrition than diet, because
Yes.
diet has negative connotations to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time I reached your clinic with my mom, I had given up on myself of ever being able to achieve any kind of health for myself. I was just kind of living from day to day in some kind of fugue state. And it was terrible now when I look back at my situation. But of course, I got more. But like they say, when you're doing something good for someone, you can never do it without doing something good for yourself. And when I saw and I sat in through her sessions and consults with you, I realized that maybe this is something that worked for me.
Yeah.
But it still took me 2 whole years. It still took me 2 whole years to have the correct mental frame of mind to feel that I can live without food. I mean, it was unthinkable. And not only live without food, fast and exercise when one is fasting. And when you told me all that, I said, I can't do it. I don't know how the people do it, but it's not me. It's not me. And here I am, the same person who's done it, who's still doing it, who's looking forward to doing it. And it was
Amazing.
a fabulous journey.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So, how about should we quickly, just maybe in a minute or two, kind of summarize what had you tried before 2019 for your weight loss, before you reached that give up state? What had you tried?
So I started putting on weight, I think, in engineering college. And then, you know, I think the biggest shift really was that from saying I have to lose weight, it became like I want to lose weight. So
Mm-hmm.
all along in my life, since people said, oh, you put on so much weight, in my mind, it was I have to lose it. But it wasn't coming from within, because I was really enjoying my food. I was enjoying my laziness. And I got caught up in this stress cycle. So I went to the nutritionists that were well known in the business. And I think it did work for some time, but I wasn't too much of an exercise person, so I couldn't sustain the weight loss. In fact, more of it came back.
Right.
And then I did toy, in fact, more than toy, with the idea of a bariatric surgery. And I, in fact, even signed up for one. But then my GP said, there are many side effects to it. So why don't you try and lose it naturally?
Mm.
And twice or thrice when I signed up for it, I had this kind of a guiding angel in the form of a friend or a doctor who knew the family, who said, try and do it naturally. You can do it naturally. And but it just didn't happen. And then dad fell ill, and 5 years of looking after him. So I totally neglected myself. And this is one of my learnings here, is that, and this is what Dr. Sujit Rajan, I met him some time ago, and he said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a caregiver. And he looked quite shocked. He
Oh,
said, how can you look after anybody if you haven't looked after yourself?
oh,
And he told me, go to Dr. Roshani Sanghani. And that time I was seeing you, but I hadn't signed up for the 3-month program. So that really stuck in my head. I said, how can I look after anybody unless I look after myself?
right. Yeah,
And
put on your own oxygen mask first.
exactly. And then my sister, who was in the US, said, come visit. You've been tied up with the hospital stuff for too long. So when I visited there, she took me to Stanford and she got me a balloon. No, it wasn't a surgery. They just inserted the balloon.
Yeah, okay.
And that also helped for a little while. But since the stomach is so expandable, I may
Mm.
not be using the right medical terms, it's so expandable that once I started eating, again the weight came back.
So
So
you learned how to overeat on top of the balloon. Mm,
exactly. Yes,
mm,
yes, yes.
mhm.
And then my mom said, the whole point of these surgeries and even this balloon is to reduce how much you're eating by reducing the size of your stomach. So
Right.
why don't you simply just do the intermittent fasting program of Dr. Roshni? Because that's the whole ultimate aim of any. Today I read in the papers that a family of 7 has done bariatric surgery. I said, they've been very brave. Good luck to them. I hope things work out.
Yeah,
But now that I've done it the natural way, I would recommend it to everybody. Your program has
absolutely.
really worked.
Thank you so much. Well, people are obviously going to be keen to know then what did you do? So I'm going to summarize because I remember when we first met, when you and I had our first session with you, we did a detailed analysis of what's your starting point, and you used some interesting words, which now, of course, you're a transformed person. But back then, the Shirin that I met said, for when we took at the 4 wheels of the lifestyle car: nutrition, sleep, stress management, exercise, and fasting, you had a definite concerns about that, and we don't even talk about fasting on day one. But within nutrition, like you said, it was an emotional crutch, it was your best friend, it helped you through the tough times. For sleep, you said you were Netflix addicted.
Yes.
And it's interesting because there is a quote of one of the founders, I think, of or CEO of Netflix, who used to say that his main competitor is the human need for sleep. And so that was with sleep. Of course, you had stress. You were worrying about your, well-being of your relatives who you were taking care of, mom and dad. And you had a mental block to exercise. You also didn't feel energetic enough to do any kind of exercise. But there was also, we should touch on this, some sort of maybe even a body consciousness about how can I go to the gym if I look this way, or if I am this way, if my size is this much. There's a sort of like a, I don't know, you can tell me what the right word is, but there's some
It's
feeling
a
there.
block. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
it's a block.
a block.
In
And
fact, now that I've started going to the gym, I noticed that everybody there is so fit. One of my biggest learnings is that even fit people work at it. They're
yeah,
not born lucky. They're not born, with bodies. They just are the way they are. They work
oh,
very hard at it. And this is people like myself should remember this at all times, that whatever is worth it is not easy. One has to work at it.
exactly. You're so right. You flip that around on its head. Is if it was easy, everybody would do it. But you actually, you intelligently picked up that if I'm going to feel sorry for myself on the streets by looking at the fit people and saying, oh, they're blessed with a healthy body, and then I feel bad about what I have. But then when you're in the gym, you're realizing the fit people are there. So this is, they're investing in it and getting this. They're working at it. It's not just,
Absolutely.
it doesn't come free.
Absolutely.
I love that flip on the way to look at it, because sometimes we get a complex is, oh my God, look at what they're capable of and I'm not. But you realize that everybody's on a journey. Maybe they started before us or they've been doing it for longer than us. And we are on our journey. So we compare only to ourselves. And when I look at you and how much you've come ahead, it's absolutely powerful. So when we looked at your nutrition, there was, of course, protein deficiency, which we talk about with everybody. There was a carbohydrate predominance. Again, that is probably one of the most notorious food groups or macronutrients when it comes to causing weight gain. And for those who are listening again, I'm an endocrinologist, so we're talking from the hormonal perspective. And you raised a good point, Shirin, is ultimately weight loss comes from a calorie deficit. but we don't do it with diet plans or bariatric surgery, because both of those are aiming to reduce the calories that come in. And you can do that without the misery of a diet or the risks of surgery by just learning how to fast, because when you're fasting, your calorie intake is zero. But the difference is we don't do calorie counting because the body actually doesn't have a calorie counting meter inside. The body actually runs on hormones. And so what we started to do with you was show you carbohydrates, how they stimulate a hormone called insulin, which is one of the biggest hormonal contributors to weight gain. So did that, and also we should clarify here too that exercise doesn't cause weight loss. Exercise helps you build a fit, strong body, and the weight management part, you ended up doing that through the changes in your nutrition, your other influence of the stress and the sleep, and then getting into the fasting. So how should we look at the journey that has changed in terms of what was like a day in your life in 2019 before we started working together officially? What would a day look like in terms of food or energy levels? How did you feel physically, emotionally? What was going on in your life in 2019? A day in your life?
Yeah. So looking back, doctor, uh, it was really, really rock bottom. It was really rock bottom as compared to where I am now. And all I wanted to do was eat to numb myself. So it was like a self
Soothing.
propagating kind of situation
Mm,
where the food just soothed me, but it was so bad. And I used to feel so guilty after that. And to cover up the guilt, I used to eat more. So
mm,
it was really, really a nightmare of a situation. And the carbs, of course, make one feel good. But like when I came to your clinic and I was trying to increase my protein intake, and so the food diary, I must tell you, is a fabulous invention. Your labels are absolutely amazing. So I was doing my protein counting, and I like the besan chilla. So I told you that I managed to touch my protein target with something like 5 or 6 besan chillas in the day.
mm.
And you're like, my dear, but do you realize how many carbs the besan chilla also has? So this was just the awareness
Awareness.
that so this was something. And even the calorie counting which you mentioned,
Mm,
what I really liked about your program was that it was not a one size fits all setup.
no.
And so I came to you, like I went to the other nutritionist, and I expected you to give me a diet chart and this is what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But you just refused to. You just refused to do that. And you said, no, we work around your lifestyle. So I think that is another key success factor.
Yes.
Because then the onus was on me to
Mm,
modify my lifestyle. But it was also easy to do that because it came naturally then, that what was available, the cook has not come today, okay, fine, you modify it. You're not running around to try and fit into some nutritionist diet plan.
mm.
Yes. And so all this thing, actually, all this transformation took time. So
Yes.
I'm not going to say that it didn't take time. I had really gone into the deep end, and to come out of that trough took time. So one needs to be
Mm,
patient, but it works. It really works. And
mm.
what
So what
I
about, uh-huh.
I wrote down some points which I didn't want to miss, actually, is that what really helped with your program is that
Sure.
when I finally signed up for the 3-month program with you, which I honestly did quite hesitatingly, because I said, will this really work? Am I committed? And the minute I asked myself, am I committed? I said, you know what? You have to be committed, because if you're not, this is not going to work. So I think this is the best creation of yours, is to have the 3-month program so that people are forced to commit to themselves,
Mm.
to their health, and their families also know they've started the program. It's
Yes.
not a one-off consult. I think it is really a good thing you have started. And then what
Mm.
you told me was that you start the fasting. Of course, we ramped up gradually. You start the fasting, but don't try and do too much exercise. Even if you don't walk, it's fine. Which I think really helped, because at that time if I had tried to fast and exercise, I would have fallen flat on my face. I
Mm.
would not have been able to do it. So that was a very good insight you had about me after all our chats. And you said you first just fast, ramp up that, and then when you've lost some weight, automatically, I remember your words, you said automatically your body will ask for exercise. And now really it does. So that was
Yes.
one of the very good things.
I'm so glad.
And then of course I was monitoring my sugar levels, and another thing which no one can believe this when I say it, because I didn't believe it myself, but it actually works. You said if your sugar is going down, don't break your fast, have salt. And it is unbelievable that salt can raise the sugar, but it did. So
Well,
I've got a bottle of salt by my bedside along with my AccuCheck meter. Anytime I feel my sugar is going down, the old me would have rushed to the kitchen and just broken it. No chia seeds, nothing, just broken whatever carb was available.
mm.
But now I check it. If necessary, I have the salt, wait for a while, and 99% it works.
Well, yeah, so I'm so glad the salt is helping you. I should clarify here that the salt is not raising the blood sugar. So even if you were to drink only water, eventually the sugar would rise because the liver wants to make sure that your glucose will remain stable to keep the brain and the organs functioning normally. The reason we suggest salt is because we know that you're going to lose a lot of salt as you fast and your insulin levels drop. This is the hormonal basis of it. So a lot of times that sensation of weakness or shakiness or that urge to go get some food can get resolved with salt. So it doesn't directly raise the blood sugar, but it might help
Okay.
with some of the symptoms that you're feeling. And even if you didn't take the salt, your blood sugar would have remained stable because your liver always does that.
So thanks for clarifying that. But the salt has been a lifesaver for me, and I keep a bottle of pink salt right next to me, and I know it's there, so there's no
Mm,
danger of collapsing on myself should the blood sugar even go down. But
exactly.
the sugar has never really gone down. I started this program on 1st September last year, which is about 10 months. It's gone down maybe 4 or 5 times, really below 70.
Hmm.
But otherwise, it's been very stable between 80 and 90, even on my 48-hour fasting days.
Exactly. And we should clarify again that you're not on any diabetes medication. You're not taking anything that is going to push your glucose into a dangerous hypoglycemia. So
Yes.
if you were on medicines or diabetes treatment, then a sugar below 70, we need to take it seriously. But otherwise, like for me or someone who doesn't have diabetes like you, when your sugar, even blood glucose goes in the 60s and you're sitting there fine, there's nothing going on, that's okay. It's not dangerous.
Yeah, but this was, I mean, everybody who's now asking me, so how do you lose the weight? And I say, intermittent fasting. And they're like, how many hours? 8 hours, 12 hours? I'm like, no, 48.
Yeah.
And they cannot believe it. They said, how do you survive? How do you survive? And really, doctor, I feel so much better on my fasting days.
Yeah.
So much better.
In what
And
way?
so more energy levels. And I feel like doing much more, and just more alive.
More
Just
alive.
great, which is unthinkable of that, when I haven't eaten for 48 hours. But
Yeah.
I think it's also the process of autophagy, where the body eats up its own dead cells and
Exactly.
new cells are produced. So one thing I wanted to say is one of the other critical success factors was the videos that you sent me when I signed up for the program.
Mm,
So the videos were so informative, and they really convinced me about fasting as a way to good health.
mm.
The videos were very simple but full of knowledge. And the test at the end of it was not a 60% pass or a 70%, was 100%. That was something new. But then I had to keep going back and get that knowledge. And I may not remember all of it, but the whole
Yeah.
the principle of it stayed with me.
Yes.
I think that those videos are amazing. Please carry on with that in all your programs, and everybody
Thanks.
who signed up for your program should definitely go through them, because the theory behind the practical
Yes.
is very important to be able to stick to this program. It's very, very important.
Wow. So here I'm going to ask two questions because we get this a lot. And you are turning it into what we want it to be. Means this was the thinking behind the design of why no diet charts, why educational videos, and why a 3 month structure upfront, right? And yet we sometimes get pushback, or because people are not used to this, it's something very unconventional. We get people who are saying, no, but my life is so hectic, my life is so unpredictable. That's why you need to give me a diet chart, because you need to be able to make the diet chart work for my life. What would you say to someone like that?
I'd say it's so much easier not having a diet chart. It's so much easier because you can eat what you want with using your head. You can eat what's available. You can plan it. Otherwise, if you have a diet chart, you're running around all the time to the market to get this, that is not available. Here, you can make do the basic stuff is there at home.
Yes. What if
So
you're traveling? What if you're traveling and you're in a hotel, or it's a business meeting or a wedding and you don't have
But here's the beauty of intermittent fasting, that if you're traveling fast, then you're not bothered about the food. It's like I'm not bothered about my cook. Now today she didn't show up, and I'm like, that's fine. I'll just fast. So
Okay.
it changes your life.
It
In
changes your life.
fact, the day that I do go out on my eating days. Oh,
Yes.
another thing I must clarify is that when I first started fasting, I used to fast very well. I had no issues fasting. But on my eating days, I would feast. So here's the thing: it's not feasting or fasting.
Hmm.
It's fasting or eating sensibly. So this was
Feeding.
a big change in my
Yeah.
head, in my
Yes.
thinking.
Hmm.
My sister helped me here. She said, I'm noticing, because we had gone to the US. She said, I'm noticing that you're fasting very well, but on your eating days, you're just going berserk. You're just going
Hmm.
berserk. So whatever weight you've lost is coming back on your eating days. And this
Oh,
is a big change I made.
yes.
So I think one of the critical success factors is to plan in your head what you're going to eat for the day. If you're going out, I try and plan to go out on my eating days, first of all, not on my fasting days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem not eating when other people are eating, but other people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If they
Yes.
don't understand what you're doing and the rationale behind it. So here's where the good support system comes in. I've now become very strict about going out with people who understand what I'm doing, so that they
Mm-hmm.
don't say, come on, eat this. I'm feeling so odd eating while you're not eating, or you're eating only salad or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that is very, very important, that people around you in your close inner circle understand the program you're doing,
Yeah.
especially the people who are at home, so that they don't start getting nervous about 48 or 72-hour fastings.
Right.
So that is very, very important. And about this diet thing, I think if there is one thing that worked, is that you said, I'm not giving you a diet chart. And please stick to that. Please stick to that,
Yes.
because I've gone through. At one point, I used to say, I can become a nutritionist myself, but who will come to me, right? Because I did so many, and I knew all these diet charts by heart. So all I
Exactly.
could see it. But this was a very practical way, because when you're not eating, you're not worried about the next meal.
Yeah. Yeah. And no food is being taken away. What I find problematic is, one, the diet chart lacks the flexibility to apply it to a new situation, or it doesn't train you how to be dynamic in real life, right? It works when you're in a cookie cutter box where everything is super
Yes,
controlled, but life is never so
yes,
controlled.
yes.
And the other thing is the sense of deprivation that comes, is they've taken away something that you love, right?
So one thing which I want to tell you about the food diary. So this is another very powerful question you have in your food diary, which
Mm-hmm.
is, we write down what we ate, our sugar levels, and then the question is, how hungry were you before you ate?
Exactly.
And that is something that really, really helped me, because I said, was I really hungry, or was it an emotional hunger, or was I stressed, or was I upset? Was it entertainment? Was it boredom? So
Yeah.
many other reasons we eat besides actual nourishing ourselves. And so that stays with me. So anytime I feel like eating the wrong food, I ask myself, how hungry am I? And it's okay if you say,
Yeah.
I'm not hungry, I'm doing this just for the pleasure. But
Yeah,
as long as one does it with awareness,
exactly.
it makes all the difference. So that's a very, very powerful question.
Oh,
How
thank you.
hungry were you?
Yeah, and again, I had to sort of go out of my way as a doctor because we are not trained in this at all, and I have to credit a good friend of mine from Chicago when I was working there in the in the hormonal department. She was a dietitian plus diabetes educator plus chef. She was like three qualifications in one. And back then, I didn't know that you can become multi-qualified. I thought if you're one thing, you're one thing. There's no way for you to do cross specialty training. And I saw the power of it was because she had compared three different areas of specialization, being a chef, being a dietitian, and a diabetes educator. She came down to some truths, and she kept saying that, Roshni, people are missing out on the relationship with food. People are missing out on the word eating disorders. We keep turning food into calories and carbs and proteins, but what is my relationship with food? What is my relationship with my body? And she used these two words that stayed in my head was intuitive eating and mindful eating. And as I was
Yes.
moving countries, I was moving from US to India in 2011. I was like, Judy has said something again and again about intuitive eating, mindful eating. So I picked up whatever books I could from US before coming to India. I was like, let me read these things. I'm switching countries. I'm about to reinvent my practice in India now. Let me bring this to the table and see what is it, because I respect her. She has a lot of wisdom. And I said, let me see what she's talking about. And that is where this came from, is what is hunger. And the
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
and the program that I trained in, the name of the program is called Am I Hungry?
Ah, yeah. And hungry for what?
Yes.
Is it hungry for food or something else that
Yeah,
you're using food as a crutch? So,
absolutely.
this mindful eating, this is another very powerful concept. And we tend to eat when we're watching TV or talking on the phone or reading. But, to actually savor the bite and feel it on your tongue and feel the taste. Yeah, so that's very good. So now I don't eat while watching TV. I don't let mom eat while watching TV. She gets
Yes.
very upset with me.
Yeah.
But I said this mindfulness is very, very important.
Yes, and the opposite would be mindless eating, where I don't even
Yes,
realize
yes.
what I ate. It's gone. Before I know it, the bowl is gone. And we all do this when we're watching a movie. We all buy the popcorn, and they've done studies on this that they gave people different sizes of popcorn before they entered the movie. And no matter the size of the container, people finished it. It didn't matter how big the container was. Once
Yes. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and
They're all good
my joke is
marketers.
very good marketeers. And my joke is that, now when you buy the ticket for the movie, you're allowed to book the popcorn in advance.
Yes,
And I'm like,
yes,
none of us know whether we're going to be hungry at the movie time. Like at 2 p.m., 2
yes,
o'clock show,
yes,
none of
yes.
us know whether we're going to be hungry 3 days from now at 2 o'clock, but we buy the popcorn.
Yes, yes, yes. It's a Pavlovian response, I think.
Yes, it's totally conditioned that movie is equal to popcorn, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So one more thing you mentioned about the videos, and again, sometimes we've had patients who are like, I don't have time to watch the videos. Just tell me what it is, and you're sort of confirming what I believe. And again, the 100% passing score is, I think you're an engineer, so you and me, I'm doctor, engineer, we've taken tests our whole life, so we know what it means to insist on knowledge to be of a certain level. But yes, we made this quiz so that lay people don't need to become healthcare professionals. They don't need to become doctors or dietitians or nutritionists. But do they deserve to know what's happening with their body? Do they deserve to understand the science of weight gain and weight loss?
So, here's my take on
Hello?
it.
Are you there?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Here's my take on it. Is that it all boils down to commitment and priorities in life. Now, when I was growing up and studying and working, priorities are very different. The next promotion, the next designation change. But now, when I'm older and hopefully a little wiser, I'm like, what is the most important thing in life? It is good health,
Yes.
because that's truly the biggest factor that guides and drives so much in your life. And as one grows older, you realize that when you're young, you give up your health to make grow up your finances and build up.
Mhm.
But then as one grows older, you spend
Yeah.
more of the finances to try and get back the health. Does that make sense?
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
So I think this is something I wish I'd learned when I was younger, but better late.
Sure.
That nothing is more important than good health, one.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, so much of it is in our hands. So many of these lifestyle diseases are in our hands to reverse. And the good news is that they can be reversed.
Yes, whether we look at blood pressure, we look at type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, triglycerides, unhealthy cholesterol profiles, inflammation. I've seen, even though I'm not an allergy specialist or a skin specialist, I have seen those inflammatory conditions get better. Gut problems, I'm not a gastroenterologist, people's digestion gets better. Joint pains, I'm not a rheumatologist, joint pain gets better even before the weight loss starts. So just a
Yes, in
couple of
fact,
fasting
my
rounds.
CRP levels have come down from 24, which is a marker of inflammation, from 24 to 4 now in this short period of time.
See,
And all
wow.
I did was fast. I didn't do anything else. My cardiologist, I go to him just as a preventative, and he used to give me statins because he said your cholesterol is going up. Now he said, "What have you been doing?" Dr. C.K. Ponde, what have you been doing? They've gone below normal. So he stopped the statins.
Wow, a cardiologist. You got a cardiologist to stop a statin. Oh my God.
Yeah. And he said, just do it through your nutrition plan. Whatever you're doing is working, just stick to it.
You know,
So
the credit goes to the human body here because we are not telling it to fix CRP or to fix cholesterol. It is doing that on its own. It knows what to do.
it's magical. We are blessed to have our bodies. You mentioned our relationship with bodies and with our bodies and with food. And I realized what a unhealthy relationship I had. I had a negative relationship with my body and an unhealthy relationship with food. And this awareness has now come to me now when I see how forgiving my body has been, and says, okay, fine, you ill-treated me, you abused me, you misused me, but I'm still there for you.
You're
I'm
still
still
there.
there for you if you treat me right.
Exactly. And I'm going to use that point, like you said. So I think my internet is slightly laggy. Is it a lag from my end?
Uh, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, fine. So you mentioned a beautiful point that even though in the past we may have done things to the body through mindless choices, through emotional eating, through whatever old habits I had, even then, in this moment, in present time, my body is not going to hold a grudge and get into the past. My body will always bring me back to this present moment, and that's mindfulness.
Absolutely. And just the high one gets from not, I used to eat to get a high, right? At one point. And here I'm getting a high from not
Hmm.
eating. Look at the change. Look at the huge change.
Wow. Look at the
It's
change.
like,
Look at the
yeah,
change. Yeah, and we used to eat saying, let me eat because I'm feeling weak or I'm feeling low energy. So food will give me energy. And now you're saying fasting is giving me energy.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. I can't believe I'm saying all this. The old me would have never believed that the new me would be saying all this, but it's true.
Yeah, it's true. And you're getting that real proof through your body. The physical experience of it cannot be missed. And there's no mistaking it. People will, and this happens a lot, is people will say, but that person said this and that person said that. And I'm like, you know what? Listen to your body. Your body will not lie and your
Yes.
body will not spread rumors.
And there's a lovely passage that someone sent me that I think you had also shared this with us, that who is your real life partner, and your real life partner is your body. So
Yeah.
it's going to be the only thing with
Yeah.
you from day one till the last day. And if you don't look after it, listen to it, and just be aware of what works and what doesn't work. But this is the thing, is that we didn't have the awareness at that time. It was just that, this calorie counting. I'm glad you don't do calorie counting,
Yeah.
because it didn't work for me all these years.
Yeah.
And now I think what worked is a feedback loop on our food diaries,
Hmm.
that we would write it for the week, though it was painful. I know how we all hated to write food diaries.
Yes.
But the feedback loop, and you and your team would tell us, this is good, and check your sugar 2 hours later. Let me tell everybody who's listening to this that the pain is worth it. Just do it, and put down your sugar levels, put down how you're feeling before your meal, after your meal, because this feedback loop that you and your team give us really helps. And then there's nothing more powerful than making your own food chart and own
Yes.
diet chart that works
Yes.
for you, that's easy. One thing that helped me was I kept it very simple. So when I was fasting, I didn't even do the broth because I'm a terrible cook. So I'm a disaster in the kitchen. And I said the easiest way is just to do a water fast, and I would have green tea, which is very easy. So that saves so much time.
Yeah.
And fasting. So now I realize how much money I saved on eating out or ordering in from the takeaways. And I have told myself whatever money I saved on eating, I'm going to now get beautiful new clothes, and that's really making me feel so great.
Yeah.
I've given away my old tent dresses and kurtas, and I've told the universe, never, never again am I going to wear that size. Never, never again. So I
Wow.
consciously did it. Yeah.
Wow. So you're telling the universe. I love that spiritual angle to it. And, so I think I have two questions before I let you go is people are going to hear this and say, oh my God, she's doing 48 hours. That's so scary. How did you get to that level? And people always ask me, how much is the right amount of fasting? Is this going to be lifelong? Do I have to do it forever? How many fasts do I have to do? And you touched on this word have to versus want to, but how did you reach your sweet spot with your fasting? And yes, we don't want to call it feasting window. Even Dr. Jason Fung, who brought fasting into the medical world, I think even their team has changed the word feasting. I think they call it now the fasting window and the building or nourishing window, one of these,
Yeah,
where
that's better. That's
yeah,
better.
yeah, that I'm eating to build back or to nourish my body, and then I fast. It's not like you said feasting. I think they've changed that word. But how did you reach your formula? And what would you say to people who wonder how much fasting the team is going to make them do or they have to do?
So I think you held my hand, you and your team held my hand very nicely through the 3-month program. And you helped me ramp up the fasting window gradually from 8 to 12 to 16. And because it was a creeping increase, it's like when you put a frog in water, if you put it in 100 degrees right away, it jumps out.
Yeah.
But if you increase the temperature by 1 degree, then it doesn't realize what's happening and it just stays there.
Yes.
So similarly, it was a creeping increase of fasting that the body starts getting slowly acclimatized to it.
Yeah.
When the incremental hours of fasting are increased, we didn't do the great jump from 14 to 48 right away.
No.
It was very gradual. So the body got used to it. And then I remember I tried 72 also. But like you use the word sweet spot, 72 I could do. I did 72 and 24 for the week. But I wasn't comfortable with 72. So now I've kept it 48 twice a week. And that works very well for me.
Wow.
Maybe in all this 10 months, I've broken the 48 at 36 for some reason or the other. But that's happened only 5 or 6 times. And I said, fine, that's good. And then another thing I've started doing, it's raining now, so I can't go for my walk outside. So I walk at home 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. And I put on my Alexa and I say, just go for it. And we will have a nice time over this 1 hour walk. I've started yoga.
Nice.
So automatically, like you said, the body is asking for it. And my yoga teacher also does strength training. So we're going to start that next week.
Awesome.
And I think people will realize that that the stomach is your second brain, as they say. So that brain, listen to it. It's that small, tiny, weeny voice that is telling you something, but just listen to it. Don't tell it to shut up.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, doctor, when I'd seen you at Hinduja, you were there.
Yeah.
Before you had started your practice. And I come and consulted you and you said, whatever happens to your body below your neck is a function of what happens to your body above the neck. So this mind control is very, very important. It's very, very important. I just have some tips which I'd help you.
Please do tell us.
Yeah. So take it one day at a time. Don't think you're going to do 48 hours for the rest of your life. Take it one day at a time, and I will of course consult you when I manage to lose the remaining 30 kilos on how to maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
But if one thinks long term, then it feels very daunting, and it feels like, oh my God, how I don't want to live like this the rest of my life. Though at this moment I do. At this moment I do. I don't. I would love to fast the rest of my life.
Okay. Well, that's
I'm
a good
feeling so
sign.
much better. Yeah, I'm feeling so much better. So take it one day at a time and just get through today. Just say, I've got to get through today. And then tomorrow's another day, we figure it out that way. Keep it simple and go out on eating days. Try and
Mhm.
plan your week so that you go out on eating days. So my eating days are Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm going out today. But having said that, I'm going to the club where I know what the menu is. I have decided what I'm going to eat. I'm
Mm.
going with a friend who understands what I'm doing. So there's going to be no drama over
Lovely.
there. So yeah, the less carbs I think made a lot of difference to me. So just I think one of the key factors of the success was the awareness.
Yeah.
That so at every moment when I'm eating, because I've planned it before that, I'm aware of what I'm putting into my body, and whether my aunt told me this. She's been another very good support system. She said food can be your medicine or food can be your poison. And I
Yes.
remember in your clinic also you say food is your medicine. You're so
Yes.
anti drugs unless necessary.
Yes.
So when I'm putting something in my mouth, I say, am I doing something good for my body or not? And
Mhm.
since my whole relationship with the body has changed, it's a great deterrent. Just that 1 second thought.
Exactly. It's the mind body connect.
Yes, yes, yes.
Wow. And it's not that food is good or bad, right? So if you, let's say, I mean, you know what, literally, Shirin, and you know this, is I'm hosting 30 family members today at my place in the next
Yes.
1 hour. And guess what the menu is? It's chaat. It's sev
Wow.
puri, pani puri, bhel puri, and like all like carby things. And we're all going to eat it. So it is about learning a balance. It's not that it's not allowed or it's called cheating. I never use the word cheating. Like you said, is I will ask myself, am I hungry? And you might say, I'm not hungry, but I'm going to have this for pleasure anyway. So if you're having it for pleasure, how can it be wrong? I'm choosing to
Yes.
have it for pleasure
Without the guilt.
without the guilt. And then
Yes,
how much? Yeah.
because the guilt is a huge factor. I think I used to say, I don't know whether this is scientifically correct, that when you're guilty, then the cortisol gets released because one
Yes.
is fed. And so the guilt actually adds to the weight. So,
Oh, it
when you're
does.
eating it, really enjoy it.
Yes, it is stress. Guilt is a stressful, negative, low emotion, very, very low frequency kind of an emotion. So if you're going to do the thing while feeling like you're cheating, like I'm cheating, I'm cheating, I'm cheating, every bite is going in with that thought instead of the mindfulness, the gratitude, the abundance, the pleasure, enjoying the textures. Like, and I don't know if I told you this, but like being like a master chef judge is, they give such beautiful plates of food, and the judge will take one bite where all the layers are there, and they'll roll it around in their mouth, and in 2 bites they're ready to give massive feedback on this
Yes,
dish,
yes,
you
yes,
know.
yes.
So you don't need buckets full of food, even if it's tasty. Like if it's tasty, even in 2 bites you'll get the taste.
Absolutely. And one thing that, we've always been told is that the stomach is the size of the fist. So how much
Yes,
food do you need? How much food do you need? And my
exactly.
mom used to always tell me, imagine your first bite is your last. So cut down on the
Mm.
quantities.
Oh, that's a
And so
great
it's
one.
such a mind game. Imagine your first bite is your last. And you already had that whole pizza. And you're
Yeah.
having that first bite as your last bite.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, I mean, we have come together today. We've learned so much. We've shared. We've had so many people influence us positively. You mentioned family, you mentioned doctors, you mentioned your own internal wisdom coming in and guiding angels coming forward to help you. And I think it's been a beautiful journey. I also feel like I've been guided by my own sort of angels who helped me reach this point in my career, and my personal and professionally. I feel so rewarded. It doesn't feel like work today for me. On a Sunday, you and I are doing this. I've got family event in an hour, but there's no place else I'd rather be right now is connecting with you on this beautiful topic, because I know that there are so many people out there who need to hear your voice today, Shirin.
Thank you, doctor, so much. And one other another very, very important, and I think the most important approach that I loved of your practice was that the spiritual angle to it. I wake up every morning, I say my prayers, and I say, please help me do my fasting today. Please help me do my exercise today. But that really appealed to me is that you put the spiritual angle as a very strong element of the success.
Thank you so much. And I might add one more, because of course we can keep talking and make this 2 hours also, but I want to be mindful of your time. But I appreciate that is, yes, the spiritual angle, if I could use words like self-care,
Yes.
self-love, everything we have talked about today is in those buckets, whether it was nutrition or sleep or stress management or exercise or fasting. The common thread amongst all of it is you changed the way you practiced self-care and self-love.
Yes.
Right?
You and your team were instrumental in me being able to do it, doctor. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. And one sort of physical takeaway that I want to give the audience, which I think is very, very important to say, and you'll agree, is what was the role of the weighing scale in all this?
So the old me was someone who would stand on the scale sometimes maybe 5 times a day, before the water, after the washroom break, before a meal, after a meal, and say, oh, 100 grams here, 100 grams there, let me do analysis of what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you told us, the scale is something that should not govern your life, and use it sensibly. So now what I do, so that was a big mindset change that I had to do. Of course, it's great to say, you've lost 40 kilos.
Yes.
And it's a real high when the scale moves towards the left. But if it moves to the right, it's really, really a downer. It really works on the mind. And then the old me would have just reached for that piece of cake and say, it's not working anyway. So let me just eat it. Right. So now what I do is to motivate myself and feel good about myself. After my 48-hour fast, I do weigh myself. So that's only twice a week.
Okay.
And I just say, okay, fine, this is working. Sometimes when I've gone off track, I can see it on the scale right away. So I do it twice a week. Sometimes I don't even do it once a week. So it depends when I'm feeling lighter. But I think the real indication actually of weight loss is clothes. Yeah. And I've taken out, I think in my cupboard, I must be having sizes of 7, 8 types of different sizes. So now it's a great high to get out and take out the clothes that never used to fit me for so many years, but I had kept them. Wow. So I think that's a great indicator. I don't really use a measuring tape, but I should.
For inches at the waist, yeah.
For inches, yeah. But overall, I think just the author, Czech author Milan Kundera said the unbeatable lightness of being. His most famous book, he passed away recently. And it's just an unbeatable lightness of being that's keeping me going.
Wow. Unbeatable lightness of being. Wow. Amazing. Well, this is beautiful. And I look forward to, maybe we'll do another interview with you, maybe in 3 more months or 6 more months, when you're doing more in the gym, you're lifting more weights, you're getting stronger. That's another thing to look forward to, is gaining strength. We're all in our 40s and above. And now is the time that, like you said, health is wealth, is we're now planning for if we're saving money for retirement, then also investing in health for retirement. And I would love to come back and do a session with you on what's happened with your exercise and what's happened with your overall progress in the next 3 to 6 months.
Sure, I look forward to doing that, doctor.
Okay, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Shirin.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for changing my life, doctor. Thank you.
It was all you. It was just our journey to be together. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. God bless.
Same to you. Thank you, Shirin.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.